Hello everyone, this is Mukesh Soni. I have come back with another video of the question answers of a famous novella Carvalho by Purnachandra Tejaswi. So in this video, we are going to have a brief discussion of the 2 marks and the 5 marks questions based on this novel Carvalho. So let's begin it. The first category of the questions answer the following questions in one of the 2 sentences. Each question carries 2 marks. So we are going to have a discussion for the 2 marks questions. Question number 1. Why did the narrator go to Mudigeri Beekeepers Cooperative Society? Whom did he meet? Answer is here. The narrator went to the Mudigere Bee Cooperative Society to buy honey bottles for 78 rupees, and there he met Mandana. Question number 2. Mandana and Lakshmana worked in. So where did Mandana and Lakshmana work? Mandana and Lakshmana worked in Bee Cooperative Society. How much did the bottle of honey cost? The bottle of honey cost rupees 78 rupees, and he paid 70 rupees first, then later he paid the remaining 8 rupees, and finally he purchased a tin of honey. Then the narrator bought the best of honey from which area? The narrator bought the best of honey from the Gutti area. The honey, the tin of honey which he purchased, which he bought from Mandana and Lakshmana, it belonged to the Gutti area, the best quality of honey. Why did the jeep stop and who helped the narrator? On the way back from the bee shop, the narrator's jeep engine made a few strange noises. Then it stopped because it does not have any petrol. 2 men on a Java motor bicycles helped the narrator bringing a can of petrol, and this is how the narrator was helped. Question number 6. Who is Pyara? What was he doing in the narrator's house? Pyara is a Muslim boy. He's working as a kitchen assistant in the narrator's house. Question number 7. The honey was whitish fluid, very much like coconut oil. The honey which he purchased from Lakshman and Mandana, it was very much similar to the, very much like, it was similar to coconut oil. Then question number 8, Mandana asked the narrator to buy which honey? Mandana asked the narrator to buy the Gutti area honey or a tin of honey, which belongs to Gutti area. Why did Mandana visit the narrator at Mudigere? Question number 9. As the minister, who was also the chairman of the Khadi board, was coming to Mudigere, and Mandana wanted to write an application urging the minister to appoint Mandana as the beekeeper of the society. For that purpose, Mandana handed over the application form and a blank sheet of white paper to the narrator to help him to fill it. So, in very simple words, I would say here, Mandana would like to apply for the job of the post of for the post of attender at Mudigere Bee Cooperative Society. He wanted to submit the application on the visit of the the minister, and for that he would like to get the application filled in. And to fill the application, he requested the narrator that to fill the application because Carvalho has gone out of station, has gone Bombay to meet his daughter who was not keeping well. So he had no other option. He came to meet the narrator to seek a help to fill the application for the post of the attender at the Mudigere Bee Cooperative Society. That's the reason that he visited narrator at Mudigere for the first time. Question number 10. Who is Carvalho? How did Mandana look up to him? Carvalho is a botanist, entomologist of a great renown. Mandana was Carvalho's disciple, student. Mandana considers him as his guru. 11. Question number 11. What happened when Mandana and his scout friends blew their bugles and beat drums? This commotion. So let me tell you in simple way that it was 15th August when the minister was about to visit the taluk office to host the flag. And it was the occasion when Mandana was about to submit the application to the minister. On that day, Mandana and his team, as a scout and guides, they were about to do the march past, and they beat the drums, the bugles, the cymbals so heavily that it disturbed it disturbed all the bees here and there, and these bees they started to bite everybody, including the minister, police, bigwigs, and everybody ran here and there in the helter and skelter. So it was something like a stampede. Then question number 12. Why did the narrator why did the narrator meet Carvalho? The narrator's paddy fields were affected by strange variety of pest. He had suffered the losses. He got severe loss. He got a lot of loss here. He wanted to discuss this problem with Carvalho, and he went to his research center. Name the bee which attacks without provocation in South Africa, and the answer is here, Mau Mau bee. What did Mandana bring in a big gunny bag to the narrator's house? Mandana brought the A1 quality pork in his gunny bag to the narrator's house. Question number 15. What did Pyara see in an overturned oven pot? Pyara saw the bees had built their hives in the overturned oven pot. Kiwi. Oh, who was Kiwi? Kiwi was a white spaniel. Kiwi was the narrator's dog. Who is the father-in-law of Mandana? Why did he refuse to give his daughter in marriage to Mandana? Ramaya is the father-in-law of Mandana, who was also called as Norway Ramaya. Norway Ramaya refuses to give his daughter in marriage to Mandana because he was jobless. He doesn't have any job. Mandana has no permanent job, so he's very much worried, and that's the reason that Ramaya does not want his daughter to get married with this jobless person. Who is Prabhakara? Prabhakara is a radio mechanic in Chikmagalur district and also a student of Carvalho, because Prabhakara was also working as a photographer, enlarging slides, films, etc. Moreover, he has set up a lab in the part of the research center of Carvalho. In Mandana's marriage, who acted as the father of the bridegroom? In the Mandana's marriage, Lakshmana, who played the role of the who played the role of the father of the bridegroom, that is Lakshmana. Now, what kind of pandal was raised? A small pandal was raised in Mandana's marriage. Why did the police arrest Mandana? The police raided Norway Ramaya's house. They had heard of illicit distillation of liquor. They took away Mandana's honey pot, saying that it contained country liquor. Hence, Mandana was arrested for trafficking in illicit liquor, Desi Daru. How was Kiwi living on the floor? Why was he lying on the floor, not living, lying on the floor? Kiwi made a strange, painful sounds. Kiwi had hidden a big piece of bone with rotten flesh. The bone looked like that of a cow or an ox, or no mortal can bear the smell. Kiwi had treasured it to chew it at leisure, unseen, and this may have caused some infection, and it was lying on the floor. Later, Kiwi was taken to Mudigere hospital by the narrator. Who bails out Mandana? The narrator bails Mandana out. It is the narrator who bails Mandana out. Name the lawyer who argues intelligently and wins the case in the favor of Mandana. His name is Cyril Gonzalez. Then, who is Yankata? Yankata is the snake charmer. Why has he come? He has come for hunting in the jungle. Then, Biryani. Who is Biryani? Biryani Kariyappa. is known for his cooking skills as well as his tree climbing skills. Then question number 27. In this novella, officially, which species is declared extinct? The flying lizard. So these are the 2 marks questions, and one more question we have here. Question number 28. Carvalho shows the narrator the glowworms which catch the bees and swallow them. What did Vandana find in the forest of Norway? Vandana found in the forest of Norway the rare bird, the flying lizard, as well as as well as which I have forgotten to mention here. Vandana also found the glowworms. Actually, Mandana is the first person who who found who did the discovery of the glowworms, which was shown by the narrator in his laboratory. Sorry, which was shown by the Carvalho in his laboratory to the narrator, and the narrator says that if you touch it still will have the lights. So this glowworm was first searched by Mandana in the forest, not the rare bird. He speaks about the rare bird indirectly. Then, question number 30. Did Carvalho and his team members catch the flying lizard alive? No. The team could not catch, but the team witnessed it. Moreover, the one of the team members, that is Kariyappa Biryani, he was fortunate enough to grab it by its tail, but he could not hold it for a long time, and finally it slips from his hand, and afterwards they raced behind it, and finally it got disappeared, and they got disappointed. They could not catch it. So this is how these are the 2 marks questions. Now we are going to have a discussion for the 5 marks questions here. Answer the following questions in a page each. Each question carries 5 marks. Question number 1. According to the textbook, write short notes on Kariyappa, Yankata, Lakshmana, Mandana, Pyara, Kivi. All the important characters are here. Now, Kariyappa, a short note on Kariyappa. Biryani Karyappa is an interesting character in the novella. He is known for his culinary skills in preparing excellent biryani, a famous chef or cook. He accompanies Carvalho's scientific expedition as a cartman. He purchases a bullock cart. He's bothered about shooting the birds and the animals on the way, while others are busy searching for the flying lizard. Karyappa is not only an excellent cook but also proficient tree climber. His tree climbing skills is reflected when he grabs the flying lizard by its tail. He's the only one person who is fortunate enough to touch the tail of the flying lizard. On the other hand, others could not touch it, could not experience it, except they just witnessed it. Yankata. Yankta, the snake catcher, has come for hunting in the jungle. He comes to collect the skins of mongoose, otters, snakes. He says that there's not enough money in snake catching or medicines. An otter skin fetches him about 100 rupees, and a snake's skin just gives him only 13 rupees. So that could help him buy new clothes, etc. He was also taxidermist of sorts, and he was also seen selling stuffed foxes and mongoose. Yankata has come there to look for the cow that had run away. When Karipa was racing with the flying lizard, Yankata also joined in the expedition or to catch the lizard, the flying lizard. Lakshmana. Lakshmana works with Mandana in the Mudigere Bee Cooperative Society. Here, they sell honey. Lakshmana accepts the request of Mandana to play the role of his father and take care everything during his wedding. Lakshmana is so kind that he goes around to collect money for Mandana's marriage. Even he requests the narrator to help him in this regard. He is fed up of Ramaya's demands, that is Mandana's father-in-law. It appears that Lakshmana has made his bride's people cry, cringe, and fall at his feet during his wedding, during during Mandana's wedding. Now, Mandana, the very important character here, Mandana is a beekeeper by profession and has been considered as a vagabond by the local commoners and friends. But Carvalho, the scientist with an international reputation, describes Mandana as a born naturalist, a man with a keen art of observation and an extraordinary natural scientist. In Mandana's life, emotional and economical problems are interrelated. Norway Ramaya refuses to give his daughter in marriage to Mandana because of his joblessness. He doesn't have a job. Mandana has no permanent job. He's very much worried. He refuses to meet. He doesn't like to meet Carvalho because Carvalho did not give him the job of an attender in his office. Mandana therefore requests the narrator to put in a word to Ramaya in his favor, and the narrator assures him that he would talk to Ramaya, but Mandana can get a job only if he gets married. The narrator therefore requests Carvalho to give a job to Mandana in his research center, but Carvalho expresses his inability to do so. He refuses, but he speaks to Norway Ramaya to give his daughter in marriage to Mandana. Finally, with the efforts of Lakshmana, narrator, Carvalho, Mandana's wedding with Rami, that is Ramaya's daughter, takes place. The wedding takes place. A few days after Mandana's marriage, Mandana is beaten up and arrested by the police for illicit brewing, for keeping the illegal liquor, for doing the illegal liquor job, manufacturing job. At Mudigere, the narrator observes Mandana's plight at the police station. On humanitarian grounds, he bails Mandana out by standing surety to him. Finally, Mandana is released from the police custody. The narrator knows Mandana as an ordinary servant. Carvalho understands Mandana in a completely new light. Carvalho needs Mandana's service in the adventurous discovery of the mysterious dream world that is Flying Lizard. At last, the whole team who went for the expedition to explore the Flying Lizard, they got disappointed for not catching the flying lizard, but they are very happy to have been able to discover such a rare bird in the Sahyadri mountain range with the help of an illiterate person, Mr. Mandana. The next character is here Pyara. Pyara is a Muslim boy and a kitchen assistant in the narrator's house. He helps He helps narrator to search his dog Kiwi in the forest. He mocks at Mandana even after his marriage, saying if he becomes his caste man, Mandana can marry 4 times. Pyara helps to pack the bee box. He also joins the narrator's expedition in the jungle. Kiwi. In this novella, a non-human beings also play an interesting role. For example, the narrator's dog, Kiwi, is an interesting companion. Here, Purnachandra Tejasvi's photographic and microscopic observation of the animal behavior is in display. Kiwi, with its extraordinary olfactory organ, helps the narrator in many ways. When the narrator is discussing the possible sale of his land to a buyer, Pyara tells him that Kiwi has been absconding. The narrator and Pyara go in search of the dog in the nearby forest by wading through the thick shrubbery. Finally, they find out the Kiwi barking at an oven pot full of bees. Thus, Kiwi helps them have interesting and disconcerting experiences. Question number 2 for the 5 marks. Narrate how the bees attacked when the minister addressed the public at Mudigere. Mandana could not present his petition for job to the minister in person. When he came to know that the minister's address was scheduled in the vast open ground in Mudigere on 15th August occasion, he decided to go there and took part in the scout movement group. The scout group was carrying with drums, bugles, and cymbals. After the unfurling the flag, Mandana and his scout friends blew the bugles, beat the drums, crushed the cymbals. The walls and the windows of Taluk office shook under the impact of the terrible din. Din means noise. The terrible noise he was creating. The hills and the forests around echoed, sent back the waves of reverberating noise. The murderous commotion disturbed the humble bees in the hives at the taluk office. They, getting angry, buzzed, flew around. Everyone was attacked by the bees, and the whole program was disturbed. People ran here and there, helter skelter, and Mandana could not submit his application to the minister. Question number 3. Describe Mandana's role in illicit brewing. The police raided Norway Ramaya's house and heard of illicit distillation. They took away Mandana's honey pot, saying that it contained country liquor. According to the constable, when honeymooning at his father in law's house, Mandana was making country liquor and he had kept it in a honey pot. Then he admitted it. He said that yes, the honey pot belongs to me. Police arrested Mandana, put him in the lockup. The police filed a case and the court had also issued the summon. He would be fined for rupees 600 and put in a jail for a year. Question number 4. The narrator's paddy field was plagued by the strange variety of pest. Did Carvalho solve this? If so, how? Narrator went to see. 1 minute. I got some. Okay. Narrator went to see Carvalho for the first time, and here he discussed the problem of pest which were eating up his standing paddy crop. Professor Carvalho, Dr. Carvalho, listened to him patiently and suggested the narrator to bring a few samples and told him to drain away the water from the fields. Possibly, these pests lived the stem under the water and therefore the insecticides had been of little use. He also says that they must be army worms. Carvalho's prediction was right. The pest had taken shelter near the stem under the water was drained away, they dropped off, began to crawl on the wet earth, then the birds and the frogs and the ants made a feast of them. The remaining ones were sprayed with insecticides and destroyed, but by then they had been eaten away more than half the crop. The damage was done. Carvalho was happy to know the result of his experiment. Then Carvalho told Mandana, his disciple, about Mandana, his disciple, and the narrator also shared the bee incident of 15th August occasion. Question number 5. Discuss the relationship between the narrator and his dog Kiwi. In this novella, the human beings play a very important role. Sorry, the non-human beings also play a very significant role. For example, the narrator's dog Kiwi is an interesting companion. Here, Tejasvi's photographic and microscopic observation of the animal behavior is in display. Kiwi, with its extraordinary sensory organ, the olfactory organ, helps the narrator in many ways. When the narrator is discussing the problem, the possible sale of his land to buyer, Pyara tells him that Kiwi has been absconding. The narrator and the Pyara they go in search of the dog in the forest. They found that he was nearby the other pot, which was filled with bees. So this is how Kiwi helps them interesting to have some interesting and disconcerting experiences. Not only this, when Kiwi got injured, we could see the relationship between Kiwi and narrator. When Kiwi got injured, the narrator immediately rushed to the Mudigere hospital for his speedy recovery. That time, the narrator was lurching between Mandana's police case and Kiwi's horrible situation. Kiwi and narrator's bonding can be seen when the narrator lost his interest in the expedition. He started to think of his wife, his daughter, he became nostalgic, but Kiwi was the only link that remained with him at the moment from the world of memories. This is how the bonding between a human being and a non-human being was really more and more stronger and the strongest one. Question number 6. Write the role of Prabhakara in finding the flying lizard. Prabhakara, not Prabhakaran, spelling error. Prabhakara is a radio mechanic in Chikmagalur district. Now he is a student of Carvalho who works as a photographer, enlarging slides, film, etc. He has set up his lab in Carvalho's research center. Prabhakar joined Carvalho's expedition to jungle along with others. Prabhakar was using chronometer, compass to know the right direction, and his his culinary skills were also appreciated. Prabhakar's transistor radio hung on the roof of the cart by a nail was blaring some Hindi love songs. On seeing the flying lizard by the narrator, everyone got alert. Prabhakar used binoculars with telelens and started to take few photos. He was told to bring movie camera and put the telelens to focus on the green patch of the moss. He gave binoculars to the narrator and focused on camera. He was like an astronomer getting ready to see a new planet swim across in the sky. His movie camera was making curr sound. Without taking his eye off the camera, the, the camera hole, Prabhakara pressed its button and everything got disturbed. The flying lizard crossed the green patch and got merged with the color of the bark of the tree. So this is how Prabhakar's technical skills played a very important role. Not only this one, there's one more thing. Prabhakar also helped to show the direction by using his instruments in a very appropriate manner. Then question number 7. How did the lawyer release Mandana from the illicit brewing case? So we know that after Mandana's marriage, police raided Norway Ramaya's house and heard of illicit distillation. They took away Mandana's honey pot, saying that it contained country liquor. According to the constable, while honeymooning at his father in law's house, Mandana was making country liquor and he had kept it in a honey pot. And Mandana also admitted that the pot belonged to him. Police arrested Mandana and put him in the lockup. The police filed a case and the court had issued summons. He would be fined rupees 600 or maybe put in a jail for a 1 year. The narrator gives surety for Mandana. Carvalho appoints criminal lawyer to fight the case of Mandana. As directed by Carvalho, the narrator meets the criminal lawyer Cyril Gonzalez. He explains the case of Mandana. The narrator, Carvalho, and others, they attend the magistrate's court. In the court, the public prosecutor argued that whatever the pot content was indisputably base material for the manufacture of liquor. But Gonzalez asked the prosecutor if he would agree that what was originally in the pot was honey. And the prosecutor said, yes, it could be honey. That was the main point for Gonzalez. Gonzalez, Gonzalez argued that the cost of the bottle of liquor was 60 paisa, whereas the cost of bottle of honey was rupee 10, and no sensible man would want to lose 10 rupees on every bottle of liquor he made. Then why should he do the business of liquor? He should do the business of honey because he is getting more profit margin. The honey is 10 rupees and liquor is 60 paisa. So hence, lawyer Gonzalez intelligently wins the case in the favor of Mandana, and Mandana gets a sigh of relief from this case. Who is Yankata? Question number 8. Who is Yankata? Why did he come to the jungle? Okay, let's have some relief. Okay, who is Yankata? Why did he come to the jungle? Yankata is a snake charmer. He has come for hunting in the jungle. He comes to collect the skins of mongoose, otters, snakes. He says that there's not enough money in snake catching or medicine. An otter skin can give him 100 rupees, whereas a snake skin can give him only 13 rupees. That could help him buy new clothes, etc. He was also taxidermist of sorts, and he was also seen selling stuffed foxes and mongoose. Yankata has come there to look for the cow that had run away. When Cariappa was running behind Flying Lizard, Yankata also joined Cariappa to to catch the Flying Lizard. Then write briefly about the role of Carvalho, the most important question. Carvalho, who is an officer at the Paddy Research Center. Carvalho, who is a great botanist, entomologist of a great renown, and the most importantly, the teacher of Mandana. Carvalho, the scientist with an international reputation, he solves the narrator's problem of pest, which is eating away his standing paddy crop. Carvalho considers Mandana as a born naturalist, a man with a keen art of observation, and an extraordinary natural scientist. When Mandana is arrested by the police for illicit liquor case, the narrator gives surety for Mandana. Even Carvalho appoints a criminal lawyer to fight the case of Mandana. As directed by Carvalho, the narrator meets the criminal lawyer Cyril Gonzalez, explains the case of Mandana. The narrator, Carvalho, and the others attend the magistrate's court, and Mandana wins the case by the intelligent remarks of Cyril Gonzalez, and the credit goes to Carvalho. Carvalho also appreciates Mandana's findings about the glowworm, which has two tails which lights. Carvalho is interested in finding the lizard previously thought to have been extinct. Carvalho is now on a mission to find this creature. He asks the narrator to join his team, his fellow student Mandana, a cameraman, the cook Biryani Kariappa. The narrator begins the journey into the thick forest of Norway in search of an ancient creature which no human eyes has ever seen. At last, the whole team got disappointed for not catching the flying lizard, but they are very happy to have been able to discover such a rare bird in the Sayadri mountain range with the help of an illiterate person like Mandana. Carvalho's and the narrator's curiosity for the scientific truth is fulfilled. Last question for 5 marks. The narrator plays an important role in the novella Carvalho discuss, or we can say, what's the role of narrator? The novella opens with the narrator going to Mudigere Bee Cooperative Society. Here, Mandana and Lakshmana work as servants, the beekeepers. The narrator buys a pot of honey. a tin of honey, sorry, the narrator buys a tin of honey from Gutti area. Please make a correction. The narrator buys a tin of honey from Gutti area for rupees 78. He is quite happy to learn that the honey from Gutti area is of the best quality. Later, the narrator encounters Carvalho, who is an officer at the Paddy Research Center and a great botanist, entomologist of the great renown, and most importantly, teacher of Vandana. The narrator gets acquainted with the Carvalho by asking the solution of his crop's problem. He is amazed to see the new findings about the glowworms which were shown by Carvalho in his laboratory. The narrator helps Mandana to convince Carvalho to give him the job of an attender, but he fails. He also joins Carvalho to convince Ramaya to give his daughter to Mandana, and finally, he extends his support in Mandana's wedding. A few days after Mandana's marriage, Mandana is beaten up and arrested by the police for illicit brewing. At Mudigere, the narrator observes Mandana's plight at the police station. On humanitarian grounds, he bails Mandana out by standing surety to him. Finally, Mandana is released from the police custody. During the expedition in the quest of the flying lizard, it is the narrator who only has witnessed the flying lizard very first as the brown colored flying lizard. Note it. Narrator is the first teammates who has witnessed this flying lizard in the jungle. Then the race begins to catch it. And thus the narrator has weaved the first thread of the story till the last note of the story. The narrator's presence is well witnessed throughout the novella. So, dear friends, these are the questions for 5 marks. Hello, dear friends. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, Mukesh English. This is Mukesh Soni. In this video, we are going to have a discussion of 10 marks questions, the important 10 marks questions from the famous novella titled Carvalho by the famous writer Purnachandra Tejaswi. So to begin with, the very first question. The flying lizard plays a significant role in the novella Carvalho. Substantiate the answer. Answer is here. Published in 1980, Purnachandra Tejaswi's Kannada classic Carvalho is set around the town of Mudigere in Chikmagalur. A typical town in the Western Ghats, the locals grow honey, rear cattle, and live a hard life, which is made harder by police and the politicians. They have a stranger in their midst, Professor Carvalho, a scientist posted at a nearby research center, is a treasury of information on all kinds of agricultural problems, an expert on glowworms, and a man who receives photographs and the letters from around the world. One day, Carvalho confesses that he is on the trail of a very rare lizard, one that can fly. The creature is a living fossil, a relative of the dinosaurs that survived their extinction by growing wings. Though it was last observed 100 years ago in Africa, Carvalho is sure it matches the descriptions of a creature seen recently in the forest of the Western Ghats. He has written to the Smithsonian Institute and the British Geographical Institute, and they have jointly offered a reward for this amazing lizard payable in pounds sterling. Now, all the locals who want to be friends with Carvalho, a search party armed with a cook heads into the woods. Fatigue sets in quickly, and men who are used to coming to the wilderness only for firewood or shikar, they grow weary on its monotony. The scientist, Carvalho, revives them. He makes them see the forest with new eyes. He touches the branch of a tree and it sprouts a mustache and legs and turns into worm. Under the dark cover of the areas, under the dark cover of the trees, the locals hold discussion with Carvalho. Does God exist? Does he oversee evolution? If all creatures are subject to evolution, how has this living fossil alone opted out of the process? At last, they find the lizard or something that might be their lizard and give it chase as it glides through the trees, slipping past their hands again and again to reach the very edge of the Western Ghats. Now, Carvalho and others, they think they have got it. The lizard is at a sheer cliff with nowhere to go. The mysterious reptile, however, has one last trick to play on its pursuers. At the end, the flying lizard is given a suffocating chase, and due to the same, the climax is both heartwarming and cosmic. The expedition, like true expeditions, is a failure as well as a success. The flying lizard escapes, but expeditions have succeeded in understanding an important way of evolution of the universe. Hence, Purnachandra Tejaswi's Carvalho presents many worlds: the dream world, the world of science, mystery, and the world of normal, simple human beings. All these are yoked together to the animal world through Kiwi, the narrator's golden spaniel, and through the born climber of trees, Biryani Karyappa, and the world of vegetation becomes an integral part of the story. Question number 2 for 10 marks. Narrate the first encounter between the narrator and Mandana and Lakshmana. Answer. In the opening chapter of the novella Carvalho, we find that the narrator goes to the Mudigere Bee Cooperative Society. The rainy season had set in for quite some time in Malnar region. The whole town was covered with mud and slush and wore a bedraggled look. The narrator's trousers were wet, his feet sore. His father asked him to get some honey from Mudigere as it was likely to be cheaper than there at Mysore. An Ayurvedic physician has advised him to take a spoonful of honey with water every morning, which worked to a half a bottle a month and about a 7 bottles a year, and calculating at 10 rupees a bottle. So he had taken 70 rupees with him. The narrator peeped in the office room and saw two young men scribbling away something. One of them raised his head and asked what he wanted. When the narrator told that he had come to buy honey, first he was denied. Later, when they recognized him and introduced each other, both Lakshmana and Mandana were working there as a beekeeper. Mandana told that a full bottle of honey would cost rupees 10. The pot honey would be less expensive compared to the bottle of honey. Mandana distinguished the pot honey and the bottled honey. He told that the bottled honey is a machine extracted and the potted honey is hand extracted. The potted honey would be dull in color, which could easily be identified. Mandana explained like a student explaining to a teacher. The narrator was not particular about the sheen or the tint, nor was his father was an expert. So he asked for potted honey. He told Lakshmana that he had 70 rupees in his pocket, but Lakshmana priced it for 78 rupees per tin. When the narrator saw the kerosene tin stocked in the room, he was shocked and that these tins contained kerosene oil. But Mandana said that it was not kerosene oil, it was pure honey. He also assured the narrator that he won't be cheated as it was cooperative society. If they indulge in such things, they would be behind the bars. The narrator asked Mandana how they managed to sell the honey so cheap. Mandana began giving a discourse on the economics of selling and buying honey. He spoke as if He was tendering evidence in the court of the law. Finally, the narrator had only 70 rupees and he told that he would pay remaining rupees 8 the next day. Then Mandana gave the narrator the best quality of honey from Gutti area, and finally the narrator got the tin of honey and it did feel very heavy, something like an iron, and finally narrator left after meeting Mandana and Lakshmana for the very first time in the novella. Question number 3. Describe the circumstances how Mandana got married. Mandana is a beekeeper by profession and has been considered as a vagabond by the local commoners and friends. But Carvalho, the scientist with an international reputation, describes Mandana as a born naturalist, a man with a keen art of observation, and an extraordinary natural scientist. In Mandana's life, emotional and economic problems are interrelated. Norway Ramaya refuses to give his daughter in marriage to Mandana because of his joblessness. Mandana has no permanent job and he is worried. He refuses to meet Carvalho because Carvalho did not give him a job of an attender in his office. Therefore, Mandana requests the narrator to put in a word to Ramaya in his favor, but Mandana can get a job only if he gets married. Therefore, the narrator requests Carvalho to give a job to Mandana in his research center, but Carvalho expresses his inability to do so, but he speaks to Norway Ramaya to give his daughter in marriage to Mandana. Finally, Mandana's wedding with Rami takes place. Now let's know how was the wedding scene. Mandana's wedding was fixed and he went to meet Lakshmana and requested to take up all the responsibility like his father. So Lakshmana plays the role of his father in his wedding. Lakshmana agreed and busied himself with the wedding preparation. Mandana's money was all spent, so Lakshmana was going around asking for help, and he was tired of meeting one demand after another. He commented why Mandana's caste has more rituals than the Brahmins. It appears that Lakshmana had made his bride's people cry, cringe, and fall at his feet during his wedding. Till the wedding was over, Mandana walked around the town displaying all his 32 teeth. All the villagers were talking about his marriage. There was a small pandal raised. Carvalho and Prabhakara were already there. Prabhakara was explaining the rites and the rituals to Carvalho. Two Harijans started warming the drums over grass fire and stood up and started beating up. At the head of the procession, something we call in Hindi as Bharat, as the head of the procession was Lakshmana with a towel for a turban and dressed in a lungi and a banyan. He looked old in this costume. It seems Mandana wanted him to look an elderly person and had insisted that he should dress like this. Right behind him was Mandana. He wore a turban from whose top was suspended a small bouquet of glass beads. In his hand, he held a club made of paper and cork. Someone held umbrella over his head. The women were carrying the women were carrying on the heads pots and the plates with various things in them. Prabhakara had brought camera as also the newly acquired flash equipment. Mandana walked slowly, measuring every step, nervously, expecting camera to click away every moment. Mandana begged Prabhakar to take pictures. Liquor was served to the people in the party. They started to fight. Due to the influence of liquor, step by step rituals were gone through. Mandana tied the tali around the bridge. Sorry. Mandana tied the tali around the bride's neck, and Prabhakara flashed another bulb. The wedding was over when the click click of the camera stopped. People stopped to take a look it was all over, and Mandana had tied the tali. This is how Mandana's wedding took place with the help of Carvalho, Mandana, and the narrator. Question number 4, very important question. The role of Carvalho in the novella is unique and different. So, what is the role of Carvalho? Or, in other words, we can say the character sketch of Carvalho. Carvalho presents many worlds. The novella Carvalho presents many worlds: the dream world, the world of science and mystery, the workday world of normal, simple human beings. Carvalho, the epinomis, Carvalho, the eponymous character of the book. The character Carvalho undertakes a journey in search of the truth of human existence. This evocative novel is set in a faraway village in the Mudigere district, which is situated in the foothills of the Western Ghats. The story takes with the narrator, a well educated farmer who came to Mudigere Bee Cooperative Society in search of authentic honey for his ailing father, and in due course he met Mandana, who to the narrator was nothing but a rural truant or a vagabond, a whimsical nature. Later the narrator encountered Carvalho, who is an officer at the Paddy Research Center and a great botanist and entomologist of the great renown, and most importantly, the guru of Mandana. Though Mandana, the beekeeper by profession, has been considered as a vagabond by the local commoners and friends, the narrator was surprised to see that Carvalho, a scientist with an international reputation, was describing Mandana as a born naturalist, a man with a keen art of observation, and an extraordinary natural scientist. For Carvalho, Mandana's vagabondish nature has a different meaning altogether. It is nothing less than scientific research. Carvalho also extends his support in Mandana's wedding, and he convinces Norway Ramaya to give his daughter to Mandana. It is Carvalho who arranges a lawyer to release Mandana, who was arrested for illicit brewing. Carvalho has a deeper understanding of Mandana as an inevitable mediator for the unraveling of the mystery and the history of nature. Although the narrator knows Mandana as an ordinary servant who is jobless, illiterate, and poor, he does not know the other side of his personality, which is known only to Carvalho. It's only when Carvalho explains the God given qualification of Mandana that the narrator understands the mystery of the human being called Mandana. Purnachandra, Purnachandra Tejasvi happens to be an expert in the depiction of the element of mystery and wonder in his writings, including the present novel. As the story progresses, we come to know the scientist Carvalho was engaged in a quest tracing the endangered flying lizard which his disciple Mandana had seen in the jungle of Norway. The rest of the story revolves around this mystical search for this extinct species as Carvalho tries to perceive and record a new evolutionary order in nature. So we cannot describe Carvalho without Mandana. So Mandana and Carvalho both are the very interrelated characters in this story. So it's quite difficult to describe Carvalho without the existence of Mandana. Last question, and the most important and the exciting question. The final moments of spotting the lizard was really enchanting. The climax of the novel. The answer is quite a bit long. I could not summarize much because I did not want to leave even important fragments of each fragments of this climax. So try to bear with me with this longest answer. The most awaited expedition to find the flying lizard begins. Carvalho, Mandana, Kariyappa, Kiwi, and all the other characters that begin their quest. The caravan has begun. And it's already the third day in the forest. It was the third day in the forest, spelling error. It was the third day in the forest. Everyone woke up the next morning and there was thick mist. After some time, Yankata came with a snake in his hand. Carvalho was amazed to see the snake being skinned alive and witness Yankata's skill. After crossing the rough path, they reached a small pond. They unyoked the bullocks. Prabhakara, the photographer, started listening some Hindi songs over his old transistor radio. Narrator sat for a while and suddenly heard a continuous tap, tap, drip, drip sound of raindrops falling on the dry leaves. It was ants falling off on dry leaves, not the water. He looked up and saw that on the branch of a tree there was a big ant hill, but so were there on the other branches also. Some creature had entered this ant hill and was gobbling up the ants that ran out like a stream. Later, the bees increased in number, but the creature neither stopped devouring nor ran away. When it could no longer stand the onrush of the ants, it leapt, jumped, floated in the air, landed on the trunk of a big tree, then started moving up. The narrator said that the creature was the brown colored flying lizard. So it was the first person in the jungle who had seen in this expedition, who has seen the lizard very first, the narrator. This was a reptile which had evoked in them numberless thoughts and the dreams. Open eyed, the narrator saw that representative of the great reptiles which once ruled the earth like dinosaurs. It was a huge tree, and the lizard and looked small. Lizard was looking very small. It was still busy. It was still busy eating the ants that had got stuck to its body. Its wings, which looked like white blown off foam, became invisible the moment it landed. Its form and features were exactly like the one drawn according to the description of Mandana to Carvalho. Its color was indistinguishable from the color of the bark of the tree. It started going up, but the narrator did not take his eyes off, and he started calling Mandana, Prabhakar, and Carvalho and shouted that it's climbing up the tree. The narrator fixed his eyes on the lizard. In the meantime, the flying lizard with measured speed was climbing up the tree. He was determined not to lose that glimpse of the timeless which a divine moment had allowed him to have in time. Then Kariyappa and Mandana came, and it disturbed the concentration. The narrator mentioned that the lizard entered the ant hill and was eating away the ants. When too many of them surrounded it, it moved over there. Then Carvalho started to describe the flying lizard by asking Mandana, there is a scaly, saw-like skin on its over its head and neck. The tail goes up to the back. It has its legs. Its feet has nails. It puts out its tongue, the tongue like ours. Then Carvalho confirmed that the narrator was looking at the flying lizard. Prabhakara could not see anything with the binoculars. The flying lizard began moving up where the narrator saw a green patch of moss. Carvalho instructed Prabhakara to keep the movie camera ready and put the tele lens focus on that part of the moss. Carvalho took the binoculars and Prabhakara tried to observe through the camera. Mandana confirmed that it is a flying lizard which has no wings, but it flies. Carvalho could not see its wings. Prabhakara's camera made kurr sound. Without taking his eyes off the camera hole, Prabhakara pressed its button. The flying lizard crossed the green patch and got merged with the color of the bark of the tree. They all bent down, massaged the backs of their necks. Then Mandana was told to be vigilant of anything which falls, even if it was only a leaf. Carvalho said, I don't know how much we have seen and how much we have missed. Cariappa, Vandana, Carvalho, Prabhakar, they all lay down the ground to keep a better watch over the tree. Vandana and Yanketa made a big fire under the tree, and the thick bark clouds rose up like dark mountains. Vandana was standing on the top of the hillock nearby. Then Cariappa shouted, "It has flown away!" It was observed by Cariappa and Mandana that flying lizard landed on the tree. Cariappa began climbing the tree. The next moment, the narrator saw a tiny four-legged creature floating in the air. It whizzed past a tree and landed on the trunk of another. Near its ribs, thin white wings appeared and disappeared. It amazed the narrator that it did not fold. It could not fold its wings like the other birds, nor it gather them along with its legs, just like the bats. Mandana, Carvalho, and Kiwi they rushed towards the tree. Since it could not flap its wings and fly, it had to climb and reach some height before taking to flight. Again, because of the thick cloud of smoke, it was moving towards the top of the hill where the trees were short and stubby. Yankata and Kariappa were chasing it from tree to tree, and its climbs and speed were getting noticeably affected. Suddenly, it flew past them and landed on the trunk of a nearby timber tree. Kariappa ran and started climbing the tree. It was hardly 2 arm lengths away from Kariappa. The flying lizard tried to escape from Cariappa's hands and slipped away a little. Cariappa grabbed it by its tail. Everyone stunned having seen this and rooted to the ground. Prabhakara's movie camera was still making the krrr sound. Cariappa was in a fix when, because one arm he was holding on the tree and the other arm he was holding the tail of the flying lizard, Yankata began climbing that tree. Flying lizard tugged fiercely at Cariappa's hand. Once, when it tried to pull it nearer his palm, it hissed like a snake, and from its hood close to the ear, its skin got extended like an umbrella. Cariappa was frightened. It hissed again, and the wings disappeared near its ribs. Cariappa was waiting for Yankata because Cariappa's palms were sweating and he could not hold it, and losing his grip, only the tip of the tail was in Cariappa's hand. Finally, Yankata reached him, and its tail got cut and it climbed up past. Cariappa followed it, but it raced up, releasing its wings, flew, and landed on a heap of boulders on the top of the hill. Yankata and Cariappa were still on the tree, and others were down, helplessly watching. The flying lizard kept leaping, jumping from one boulder to another boulder, and finally reached at the top of the promontory. Following the flying lizard, they all reached to the very edge of the Sayadri range, and the other side was sheer drop of the several thousand feet. Forest and small river below could be seen. The rock was slippery, and the dew and the moss added to this risk. But Yanket and Cariappa slowly started sliding up the uh, precipice. The frightened flying lizard hissed and spread its hood, looked back whether it could move backwards. Then it looked forward. Cariapani Yankata moved 2 more arm lengths up. Again it hissed and did what they had least expected to do. Spelling error, I'm sorry. It leapt from the edge of the precipice like a miracle. Near its ribs, thin white wings sprouted. It zoomed into the wake, unending blue space. Since it could not beat its wings and change course, it plummeted straight into the water. It jumped, it started to fly. It jumped into the water, and in a little while The strange flying lizard vanished into the space. It was not seen, got disappeared. None of them felt disappointed because a link from the past had flashed past their eyes like an apocalypse and then vanished. So hence we can say the final moments of spotting the lizard was really enchanting. So dear friends, this is how I tried my best to bring your 10 marks questions answers. If any spelling errors, kindly uh, try to correct. I tried my best. Thank you so much for watching this video. Keep watching Mukesh English. Thank you once again. Dear friends, thank you so much for watching this video. You can reach me at mukeshenglish@gmail.com. Please do subscribe the channel, click on the like button for more videos on literature, workbook, pronunciation, grammar, communication skills, presentation skills, interview skills. Stay in tune with Mukesh English. Thank you once again.